I'm a director of learning at Family Connections. I'm also a mindfulness teacher. And so what we're going to be talking about a lot today is about mindfulness. We're going to talk about emotional resilience. We're going to talk about mindfulness. We're going to talk about self-care. Today is really about us being able to connect with whatever our internal experience is. And it's not necessarily about looking at a PowerPoint. A PowerPoint is just something that can help us to stay focused. But we're going to stay focused with just what's going on with us internally right now. So some of the learning objectives that we will be talking about today is defining what is emotional resilience, talking about mindfulness as emotional resilience, and then giving you all some self-care tools to take with you. And I believe that there was already a self-care plan that was emailed out. So we're going to go through this and we're going to do that together as well. So what is emotional resilience? Emotional resilience is the ability to calm your frantic mind after encountering a negative experience. So while you all came into this training, you were ready to go, you were looking forward to like, oh, this is going to be wonderful. We're going to do self-care. And then you come into this training and you're like, what is happening here? Who is this trainer? Why can't we get the PowerPoint up? Well, my hope is that we are all going to be resilient together and we are going to bounce back and connect and be able to move forward with this training and still practice some self-care and get some good things out of it. So that is what emotional resilience is. The word resilience comes from the Latin word resilio, which means to bounce back and to retaliate. So when you're experiencing any sort of stressor in life, whether it is about whatever occurred prior to coming into this training, maybe you had a conversation with a partner or a child or another adult in your life that was stressful. The ability for you to be able to kind of let that go, to calm your mind after experiencing that is what resilience is. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at what the stressors are that you've experienced in the past 30 days. It's a brief assessment just to see in the past 30 days, what kind of stressors you've been experiencing and how you've been handling the stressors. And the reason we do this is because we always want to start with self-monitoring. Where am I at any given moment? Because when we're able to self-monitor, then we're able to assess, okay, this is what I need right now. I need to practice self-care. So if everyone could just take a moment, and again, it's completely voluntary. It's also anonymous. You don't have to put in any identifying information for yourself. It's just really to take stock of in the past 30 days, what has your stress level been like, and how have you been coping with that? So 30 days. So the purpose of this training, part of the purpose of this training, filling this out right now, is not only to take stock as to where you are right now, but also to see, based on you getting some information today, getting some skills that you're going to take with you, if you're able to apply them in the next 30 days, and then the link will be emailed out to you again 30 days from now to see, did it make a difference? Whenever you're attending any training, it's just really important to know that it's not about sitting in this next hour and change to get the information. It's about how you apply what you've learned to your life afterwards. We only retain 10% of any training that we're in, and it's really up to us to apply it. So there will be follow-up. And again, it's not follow-up that I will be able to see any of the information in terms of who you are. It's more just looking at an aggregate. So when we are able to take stock of where we are, then that helps us to be mindful. And so mindfulness is a buzzword that's been talked about a lot lately, and everyone's talking about like, oh, are you practicing mindfulness? So first, just to define what mindfulness is. Mindfulness is awareness in the present moment of what is occurring non-judgmentally. So what does that look like? When we are going through our day, we're oftentimes just doing a million things. People pride themselves on, oh, I'm such a great multitasker. The problem is there is no such thing as multitasking. Multitasking means that you're just not really putting any focus on anything in particular. You're kind of going all over the place. So in this little cartoon, you'll see this person's walking with their dog, and in one side, their mind is full. It's full of maybe the traffic that they sat in, the music that maybe they're listening to in their headphones, maybe thinking about a conversation that happened prior to them going on this walk. There's emotions in their mind of maybe how they're feeling, maybe thinking about what's on their to-do list later. And so in all of that, there's a lot of, their mind is full and there's a lot of scattered thinking. Whereas on the right side, it shows someone that's actually being purposefully present in that present moment and looking at what's in front of them. So really seeing those 4 trees, really noticing the sunshine, maybe feeling what sunshine feels like on the skin, and enjoying the time with the dog, walking along. And so when we're able to really purposefully pay attention to the present moment and be mindful without judgments, that allows our minds to actually clear and to be more present and focused in whatever you're doing. It can lead to greater compassion, greater connection with others, and definitely connection with yourself. So now what we're going to do, which I can really use right now, and I hope you all join me in practicing some mindfulness. So that video was just showing again what I was saying it's about, and just to summarize it a little bit, it's talking about, so mindfulness is, it's actually could be seen as a superpower. We all have this ability to be able to calm down what's going on within our minds, within our bodies, within the thoughts that we're having. And so in the video, it shows this little cartoon character driving, and all of a sudden someone cuts him off. And so it talks about like when you get cut off, what are some of the things that you experience? Maybe you're feeling like a buzzing in your chest. Maybe you're feeling the emotion of I'm angry at this situation. Maybe you're having thoughts of like, how dare this person cut me off? And so there are things that you could do in the moment. You could either inhabit those thoughts, inhabit that emotion, actually become that, and then maybe go after that person that cut you off with road rage. Or you could say, hey, right now I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling like why did this person cut me off? I have these places to go. And when you say that, when you acknowledge what's going on within your body, within your minds, within your emotions, then you're able to breathe and make a mindful response, as opposed to having a reaction to that situation and maybe getting arrested for road rage. And so it talks about that as mindfulness, but also the fact that the other thing that I love in this video that will be in the PowerPoint that you receive is they talk about how mindfulness is, right now it's a buzzword and people talk about it but you don't really know, maybe you know what it is, maybe you practice it, maybe you practice meditation. Meditation is a part of mindfulness. It's actually the formalized process, whereas there are everyday things that you could be doing, like when you get cut off from a car, say, okay, right now I am present in my car. Right now I'm feeling upset, but I just need to take a deep breath. And that in itself, that practice, that exercise, can be something like that is a superpower. Years and years and years ago, there were people would say, oh, I'm going for a run. And you know, decades ago, it would be like, well, why are you running? Who are you running from? Where now it's you know, it's something that we all do. We exercise, we take care of ourselves, we brush our teeth. We didn't always know that you need to brush your teeth. So mindfulness, in this video, they talk about being like the next superpower, the next preventive health thing that everyone will be doing, because that's what we should be doing to take care of our minds and our bodies. So to now practice a little bit of mindfulness, what I'm going to ask is, if you are comfortable to do so, to find yourself in a position that is relaxed yet alert. So maybe if you're seated, having your feet flat on the ground, your legs uncrossed, just noticing how your legs are seated in your chair, how your how your spine goes up into your neck and your head, holding you upright. How your arms are placed next to you, your hands either on the surface or on a chair next to you. And if you would like to do so, beginning to become aware of your breathing, of your breath, not having to change it in any particular way, just noticing how it is right now. If you want to become fully present to the act of your body breathing, maybe closing your eyes or gently unfocusing them. And just noticing how your breath comes in and goes out. Maybe you're noticing your breath at your nostrils or your mouth. Noticing the air, is it cold or warm? Does it have a temperature? Is the temperature different going in versus going out? Maybe noticing how your breath flows into your chest and your rib cage expands and contracts with each breath. Or maybe even noticing your breathing at your belly, how your belly flows in and out. So a mindfulness teacher that I study, John Kabat-Zinn, says, as long as you're breathing, there is more right with you than there is wrong. And this really speaks to emotional resilience. While there might be a lot of stressors that are going on in your life, as long as you're breathing, you can be present. Emotional resilience is about being able to ride the waves, the ups and downs of life, to bounce back, to be present. And by just taking some time to notice your breath, notice your body, you're able to practice and exercise that emotional resilience. Maybe as you're sitting here, you're already having thoughts of the past, things that happened before you came into this space. Or maybe starting to make a to-do list of things you're going to do after this webinar. And when you notice it, it's then guiding your attention back to the act of breathing that brings you back to the now, that exercises that emotional resilience. It's about not getting carried away by the thoughts, but instead noticing them and bringing your attention back to your breath. Maybe you're noticing emotions that you're having. And again, it's noticing that and gearing your focus back to your breath. Just taking a couple more minutes just to notice what's here in the here and now. What comes into your awareness of thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations. Taking stock of how you're feeling right in this moment. And bringing your focus back to your breath. And as we're coming to the end of this brief mindfulness meditation, maybe starting to wiggle your fingers and toes, bring your body awareness back into the forefront of your awareness. Maybe extending your breath, the in breath, the out breath. If you had your eyes closed or gently unfocused, maybe opening your eyes, focusing back on this moment, on this webinar. Maybe you need like a little stretch, just listening to what your body needs right now, moving your neck around your head, and just bringing yourself back aware. Okay, so that was just a very brief guided mindfulness activity, but really speaks to how you're able to kind of slow everything down, to be present in what the moment is in terms of breath. For mindfulness, you could pay attention to breath, you could pay attention to contact points, so maybe like how your feet are in contact with the floor, what your hands are in contact with. You could pay attention to the sounds around you, really being present in your senses as opposed to being carried away by your emotions and thoughts is a way to practice mindfulness. So mindfulness is one aspect of self-care that we could do for emotional resilience, but there are many other types of self-care that we could practice. So I'm going to go through a couple of those, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. So the first one is social self-care. And so the number one thing for resilience that we could do is in our connections and our relationships with others. So what is social self-care? What social self-care could look like is taking some time to check in with someone that you care about, maybe making sure that you have time for them to check in with you. It could be about spending more time with people, or maybe being aware that you're spending too much time with people and you need to connect back to yourself. So just being able to look at all the different aspects of your socialization and practice self-care that way. If you are working at a job, maybe it's attending supervision, maybe it's attending a group like this where you're networking with others that are looking for jobs, that are in a place of job seeking, talking about what the commonalities are in that process. Those are all things for social self-care. Another option is environmental self-care. So what's environmental self-care? Environmental self-care could be looking at what your environment is. It's exactly what it says. So if you're sitting at a desk right now, what does that desk space look like? Are there things that you could do in your current environment to be more caring for yourself and your ability to whether it's looking for a job or deal with the stressors of life? When our spaces around us are cluttered, that can lead to cluttering of our minds. So are there ways that you could declutter maybe your environment, your space that's around you? Was there a question? Okay. Or maybe it's about, okay, you've been sitting inside all day. It's a beautiful day outside. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you, somehow that's went to, yeah, that's okay. Sometimes it's about going outside, experiencing what the beautiful weather, being able to go on vacation, looking at what are some of the things in your environment that you can do for self-care. The next thing for self-care is intellectual self-care. So intellectual self-care, when we're exercising our brain, when we're exercising our prefrontal cortex by maybe reading a book, by attending a webinar, by attending a different class, really expanding our what we know and what we could learn. That also is a type of self-care. Physical self-care. So physical self-care could be looking at what's happening within your body. What are your sleep patterns? Do you need more sleep? Are you sleeping too much? Do you need to exercise? What is your energy level like? What about eating? Are you able to practice different ways of healthy eating to take care of your body? Are you making sure that if you have any health issues that you're experiencing, are you attending to those health issues? So that's physical self-care. Psychological self-care could be being aware of, okay, I'm really struggling with these issues, and maybe I need to talk to someone. Maybe I need to attend therapy. Maybe I need to attend a group, or practice mindfulness could be a way of psychological self-care as well. Moral or spiritual self-care. So spirituality and organized religion can be very, very supportive to people. So being able to look at what am I doing for self-care to make sure that I'm connecting with spirituality, with humanity, with morality. Am I making decisions that are within my own moral code, within all of our moral codes? So those are some options for moral or spiritual self-care. And there are a lot more that I'm not mentioning as well, because this is something that you're going to explore for yourselves in a couple of minutes. And then there's financial self-care. So looking at, but finances can be a huge source of stress, right? So are there things that you could do to put yourself in a place of self-care financially? So maybe it's looking for a job, like seeking a job, whether it's a new job or your current, or looking at, if you are in a current position, are there things that you could do to increase your finances? Are there ways that you could look at saving money? So financial self-care is another option. So what we're going to do now is actually create a self-care plan. So this was emailed to everyone, the self-care plan. And I believe the email came from Lisa, from your email. So if everyone can just take some time to open up that email, and we're going to just take some time to actually fill out the self-care plan. It's not something that you need to share with the group unless you want to. I would love to get some feedback on how the process is. But as you can see at the top of the sheet, it talks about how stress affects me. So first looking at, because sometimes we're not even aware that we're stressed, but we all of a sudden when we look at like, oh, I had a terrible sleep last night, or I couldn't fall asleep. Is it because stress is affecting me? So this is where we're taking stock, being mindful of where we are right now in this present moment, and then we're creating the self-care plan to attend to it. So first, looking at how stress affects me. For some people with sleep, you might sleep more. For some, you might sleep less. So how does it affect you with sleep? How does it affect you with your energy, your appetite? Do you find yourself to be eating more or less when you're stressed? What is your MO? And sometimes it might be different. Sometimes when you're stressed out, you might be overeating. Other times you can't eat anything. Maybe in terms of what you're eating, whether it's healthy food or unhealthy food, that changes based on stress. What is your socialization like? Do you find yourself spending more time socializing or less time when you're stressed out? And are there changes you need to look at there? Work-wise, if you are looking for a job or if you're in a position, is stress affecting your ability to be present in the work that you're doing? Identity, worldview. So are you starting to look at, because life is stressful, that maybe the world in itself is stressful. Maybe this is about me. So just looking at how stress affects that, feeling hopeless or helpless, having post-traumatic stress symptoms. So that could be like having increased nightmares, increased reactions, hypersensitive reactions to things, or any other ways. So first, taking the time to identify what are the things that happen with you when you're feeling stressed, and then coming up with what are some things that you do for your self-care when you're feeling stressed, and what are some areas that maybe you could work on. So maybe you're really good at calling your best friend when you're feeling stressed, but you're kind of sitting in your space on your own, and you're not changing your environment to which maybe your environment is stressful. So I am going to share the screen so that way you all can see if you don't have it. This is the self-care plan, and it will be emailed out to those that share their email addresses after the training. So again, it shows here just how stress affects you, then the self-care that you can employ when you're experiencing signs and symptoms of stress. And then the last thing is what gives me hope. Because oftentimes when we are feeling stressed out, it's really hard to see the other side of it. It feels like stress is always there. And one thing that can impact your ability to have emotional resilience is being able to have hope that things can change. So that's what the last one is. So again, just giving people some time to look through it. All right, so, and those of you that have been able to fill it out or just explore it, I would love for people to just put in the chat, like some either the chat or unmute yourself and share what are some of the self-care things that you do for yourselves, because maybe we could learn from each other. Yes, Diane.
I run every day 5 or 6 miles before I get stressed. I just go to the gym, and it's very helpful to me.
Wonderful. Yes. Yeah. So physical exercise is huge. It's letting,
Right.
there's so much that you could work out with your body, and that routine in itself too is great. Okay. So I do see, I pray and meditate every morning and exercise as much as I can. So again, there's the physical care as well as the spiritual care. Meditation is important, and getting together with friends. I belong to some meetup groups. I also go for nature walks. So I'm hearing a lot there in terms of environmental self-care, social self-care. So environmental self-care, going for the nature walks, social self-care with getting together with friends, meeting up groups, meditation. This could be the spiritual or psychological care. So really wonderful. You're hitting a lot of different things. Yoga, meditation almost every day, and running every other day. Amazing. That's, in terms of your physical self-care, for the yoga, the running, the spirituality, as well as psychological for yoga and meditation and running as well. There's a lot of really great stuff there. Talking through stress with close friends, social self-care, exercising, physical self-care, and gardening while listening to an audiobook. So there is some wonderful multitasking self-care that's happening while you cannot fully multitask. Because then you're not focusing on anything. Really, that gardening and touching the ground, all of the nutrients that are in the soil is really wonderful. That's environmental self-care, also physical. What's that? Oh, no worries, Diane. It's good to hear someone else's voice besides me anyway. And then also listening to the audiobook, I'm hearing some intellectual self-care there too. So great exercise, work outside, listen to music, play with grandkids, go to concerts, races, cook. Wonderful, all wonderful stuff. Walking with dogs, attending religious services, shopping. So it's, please keep the ideas coming. Everyone read, the ideas that people have. Maybe it'll spark some interest of, oh yeah, I used to love that. I used to love going to live music, but I haven't done that in a while. That is something that is self-care for me. How should I do something like that? Should I get back into my exercise plan? The more that and because as I mentioned before, the number one thing for emotional resilience and resilience in general is your social connections, is your relationships. So when we are able to share across different ideas, that's building our relationships, it's building our connections with others, and that's building our emotional resilience as well. Diane mentioned that she also gardens and rides her bike. Wonderful. Any other ideas that anyone wants to throw up in the chat or say out loud?
I also do gardening. I kind of forgot to mention that, but yeah, that's a big part of my way of relaxing and just, chilling, and just getting back to nature is really important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Linda. I play with my kitten And throw our balls. Yeah, the pets, so pets can, when I talked about socialization, I only talked about people, but absolutely our pets are also a big part of our socialization. So whether it's cats, dogs, hamsters, whatever, being able to watch the squirrels in my backyard is like one of my favorite things as well. So any other ideas? You quilt for an organization called Quilting for a Cause. Yeah, so doing something like that, like, so you know, the quilting in itself can be very therapeutic, but also knowing that you're doing it for a cause, that could be a part of your spiritual self-care, your moral self-care, as well as socialization. Petting my dog, Angel, hugging my grandkids. Sometimes I just want to sit and share and stare, which I do not have the time to do. Well, so the good news is we're going to do one more sitting and staring or staring or closing your eyes at the end of this training. We often feel like we don't have the time to do self-care. There is that what's said on an airplane is make sure that you take care of yourself. We put on the oxygen mask before you put it on anyone else. And I remember the first time I was flying with my daughter, who was 3 months old at the time. I was bringing her down to Florida to introduce her to family. And I had, 3 months old. I'd been taking care of her. Her needs were before mine for those past 3 months, even the 9 months before that. She was my focus. And so when the stewardess said, make sure to put on your oxygen mask first, I was like, no way. Like, this is my baby. This is my life. This is who I've been caring for 3 months. I'm going to put the oxygen mask on her first. And then I took a step back and thought about it. If I am sitting there gasping for air, then I'm not going to be able to take care of this 3-month-old that cannot take care of herself right now. I need to make sure that I am breathing so I can make sure that she is able to breathe. And so it really clicked in that moment. And oftentimes when whether we're caregivers or we're just trying to make people happy around us, we're not taking the time to take care of ourselves. And if you have 3 minutes, you have 3 minutes to breathe, to take care of yourself. If you have 3 minutes to sit and stare, then you should do that. So I'm gonna do a brief 3-minute meditation that you could do at any time, because we could always find 3 minutes, right? Does that seem realistic? In your full day, can you find 3 minutes? Yeah, so even if you don't get to garden today, even if you don't get to go to a concert, all the things that might take more time, get a massage, get a mani-pedi, whatever other things for self-care, you could probably find 3 minutes to breathe. So Gerard says, trying to help others, it takes the focus off myself and my thoughts. Yeah, so while self-care is important, also caring for others, it does feel good. It makes you feel good. It's a positive thing as well. Thank you, Amy. I'm active in my synagogue. So again, the religious and spirituality, taking power walks, including a mini one between different work things. Yes, whenever a way to really incorporate mindfulness and self-care into even something as simple as, okay, you have to go to the bathroom or you have to get a glass of water. If you're able to really be present in that walk to get the water or walk to the bathroom, that helps to ground you and gets you out of that automatic just doing, and can be a way to focus. Focus on glimmers. Yes, glimmers, for those of you that are not aware of the term. So people often talk about like, what are your triggers? What are your triggers for stress? What are the things that set you off? The opposite of that are, what are your glimmers? What are the things that make you happy? What are the things that bring you joy? And so focusing and doing a little reframing of what's happening within your day and focusing on those glimmers can be a really great way for self-care. So I have 3 children. I tend to talk about my kids a lot during my trainings, but I have 3 children, and every night before while we're sitting at dinner, we do a little glimmer and trigger activity to really focus on, because there's a lot that's happening in your day, and it's important to acknowledge and recognize the stress, but also to recognize the positives. And so we do something called rose petal, rosebud, rose thorn. And so it focuses on the rose petal is what was the best thing? What was that glimmer that happened for you today? The rose thorn is what is something that happened that was not so great? And then the rosebud is what is something that you're looking forward to? And so we all take turns being able to do this to really acknowledge what John Kabat-Zinn calls the full catastrophe of life. There are those glimmers, there are those triggers, there are those, and then there's also the medium part of things, just the everyday occurrence. So really being able to focus on all of that is what can be self-care. Okay, I'm just looking at some other things. I love to cook low-fat meals. So with that, you're getting your appetite, or the physical care, maybe also some environmental care by creating a nice meal to be eating. The last thing about the self-care plan that I do want to say is that you mentioned nothing about time with hobbies. Yeah. So what are some of your hobbies that you really enjoy, and where can that fit in in your self-care? Is it a social hobby where maybe your hobby is going to paint in a studio with other people? Or is it intellectual, where it could be the painting or whatever else your hobby is, that's really expanding your prefrontal cortex. Reading absolutely could be a hobby, and could also be that intellectual self-care. So really thinking about all the different things. There was a question, any thoughts if a person is sleeping too much? So that's where it's really looking at, like, okay, how is stress affecting you? Is it affecting your sleep that you are sleeping too much? And are there things that you could do to kind of be more present, be more awake during the day? So could it be looking at those aspects of self-care that kind of go, that are able to take care of that sleeping? If you're sleeping too much, can you go out in your environment and go for a walk outside, breathe the fresh air? Is there anything physical going on? Do you need to see a doctor if you're sleeping too much? Do you need to look at your sleep habits of what you're doing before you go to sleep at night? Or could you practice meditation before you go to bed to calm down your body so you're able to go to sleep at just a regular 8-hour, if anyone gets an 8-hour sleep, that's wonderful. I'm very jealous of you. But then also to wake up feeling rested. Because sometimes when you're sleeping too much, it's not necessarily restful sleep, it's just a lot of sleep. So absolutely, if you're sleeping too much, that might be a sign that stress is affecting you and stress is affecting your sleep. So what are some self-care plan things that you could do to employ? Any other last thoughts before I go back to the presentation? These are all really wonderful ideas that you're all sharing. Thank you for this. And I do encourage you, David, I'm just seeing self-care or depression. I'm not sure if that's in relation to the sleep, but yes, absolutely looking at like how is your sleep being affected, and are there different things that you could do for self-care? Is there a psychological self-care that's needed? Setting boundaries with friends and family, so that could be a part of your social self-care. Absolutely. Sometimes when we're looking at social self-care, it's not just about socializing. Sometimes it can be taking a step back, setting some boundaries, being able to really focus on self instead of others. All right, so the last thing that I'll say about this self-care plan is this is something that you have as a tool. It's also a working document. So there might be something that works really well for you right now, but does not work a month from now. So constantly being able to look at, like, are there areas that I could explore for self-care? If I have a lot of things that I do for socialization, but I'm kind of neglecting my physical care, then maybe do I need to look at that and change it? Do I need to employ more physical self-care and take a step back from the social part of it? So the working document, please feel free to use it. You will have, if you don't have it emailed to you yet, you will. We will email it back out again, and please save it, use it, share it with friends. You're welcome to use it. I am giving permission. Okay. All right. So So mindfulness, as we know, could be a big part of self-care. And how do we apply it to the job seeking world, or just in general, different tasks that we have to look at? So the first thing is, when we're looking at mindfulness, it's about having a goal that you're working towards. So being able to have a focus, having awareness of, this is what I want to do, because that in itself is the catalyst for all action. That being said, when you have that goal, not focusing on the achievement. So it's not about like, okay, if I make this goal, then that's what kind of defines me. Instead, letting the action towards the goal be the achievement. So if your goal is, if you're in this group, you're maybe looking for a job. Yes, so the goal might be to find a job, but that doesn't mean that you're not achieving as you're getting towards getting that job. So the action of attending things like a webinar like this, of networking, of gaining more skills, all those different actions are also the achievement. So just really focusing on all those actions as opposed to the end goal. The next thing is being present or mindful, so paying attention. So similarly to the brief guided meditation I did, when I said, you know, when your mind starts to wander, when your thoughts of the past or the future or your emotions take you on a little journey, then returning to your breath as a place of being present. That's the same thing when you're working on any particular task. So there might be, maybe you're working on a task, looking for a job, working on your resume, whatever you're working on, and all of a sudden you get an email or you get a text message or someone comes into the room, you get a phone call, and or you just get distracted. Maybe start scrolling on Instagram, looking at reels. It's being present in mindfulness is just noticing like, okay, I just got distracted. And now let me return to the task at hand because I wandered. So it's not saying your mind's never going to wander. It's not saying that you're never going to be taken off task. It's about being aware of it when you do, and then returning to the task when you notice. So that's what mindfulness is. And that's what we talk about a lot with meditation. It's not the fact that your mind has wandered, because your mind will wander. That's what the mind does. It's not the fact that all of a sudden you got carried away with whatever emotional situation you're dealing with. It's about the fact that you noticed and you return back to the present. The next thing on mindfulness with job seeking is working with a still mind. So stilling unnecessary chatter. So when you're able to notice, like, okay, my mind is kind of all over the place, being able to breathe, be present, stilling that unnecessary chatter is a way to bring mindfulness into job seeking. Doing only one thing at a time. So I've mentioned this a couple times. There is no such thing as multitasking. Our mind can actually only focus on one thing at a time. So being able to honor that and to only do one thing at a time. Finish what you begin now, not later. Don't judge your work or the work of others or the nature of your work you've been given. So a big part of mindfulness is about non-judgment. And that is a really difficult thing for humans to do. We wake up judging. We judge what time we woke up, what outfit we want to put on. Let me think about what I want to look like. That in itself is a judgment. So just being aware of the judgments that we're making can also be mindful. So as you're doing your work, not getting focused on, oh, I did this wrong, I did this right, I did this really well, but instead just again, letting the action be the achievement, let the work be the achievement. And then the last thing is pay attention. So these are some ideas for mindfulness in job seeking. I should also say that I shamelessly stole this from a place called Still Mind. I have made a little bit of changes, but it is Still Mind is in New York City. It's this wonderful studio, and I did ask them if I could use it for a presentation as well. Okay. I think not only judging ourselves, but paying too much attention about others and comparing yourselves to others. I'm trying to change that. Yes, we all do this. This is a part of the human experience, is the judgments that we make, the judgments we make about ourselves, the judgments we make about others. And so it's not it's not about then judging yourselves for judging. It's being aware of like, wow, I'm doing that human experience of judgment. And now that I'm aware of it, how can I bring myself back to just what is in front of me right now? Thank you for sharing that. Okay. All right, so if you all remember before, I talked about a 3-minute breathing space. So if you have 3 minutes, then you have the ability to practice some self-care and to practice some mindfulness and meditation. So let me grab my timer so I can make sure that I stay on the 3 minutes. Right. So what I'm going to ask for you all to do you all have 3 minutes right now? You all have 3 minutes? Yeah, you sure? Okay, all right, so we're gonna practice some 3-minute self-care. Here we go. The purpose of the 3-minute breathing space is the first minute, and I will walk you through it, is about taking stock of where you are right now. So being aware of like, okay, this is what my thoughts are, this is what my emotions are, this is what I'm feeling in my body. That's what you do for the first minute. It's not about changing it, it's about being aware of it. So that's the first minute. For the second minute, then we focus in on one of your body processes, which we're going to focus on breathing. It's 3-minute breathing space. So for that next minute, you just focus on the breathing. When, and I say when, not if, but when your mind starts to wander, when your emotions start to become more present again, when you notice maybe like, oh my goodness, I'm feeling like some tension in my neck or shoulders, it's then just again, returning your attention back to your breath for that second minute. And for the third minute, then we expand it back out to our full body, to our space around us. So starting with the first part of it is becoming aware of your position that you are seated in right now. You could choose to either close your eyes, gently unfocus them, or just notice what you are seeing around you. Again, the first part of this is not about changing. It's not about changing your breath cadence or stopping your thoughts. It's about becoming aware of whatever you are experiencing right now. Your thoughts, emotions, bodily sensations. Just bringing awareness to now. Now bringing your awareness away from those thoughts, emotions, sensations, and focusing just on your breath, your body as it's breathing right now. Where the breath comes in, to where it travels. Now expanding your awareness from your breath, from the top of your head, all the way out to your fingertips and toes. Just noticing how your full body experiences right now, how it's positioned. Maybe the space around you. Starting to bring awareness back into your full body experience, senses. When you are ready, bringing your awareness to the room around you, to this webinar. Back present into this training. So that was a 3-minute breathing space. So it's, again, just a quick exercise that you could do when you feel like there is not any time for self-care. I haven't done anything for myself all day to care for myself. Oh my goodness, can I find 3 minutes? And if I could find 3 minutes, then I could just take stock of what I'm experiencing, be present for those 3 minutes on my experience, on my breath, on my full body, and and get some time for self-care. Here's, this last slide that I have for you all before we move into questions and networking it's like a little bingo board, and it's something that that you could also come up with your own mindful activities. There's at least a space or two in which you could write in something for mindfulness, but it's all about when we're able to, like we talked about from the very beginning, when in order to be emotionally resilient, it's about being able to kind of ride with the flow of life. And a good way to do that is through mindfulness. So when you're experiencing stress, can you all of a sudden walk outside, looking at some of the options on here, listen to a piece of music without distraction, drink a cup of coffee or tea, really focus and be present in that moment. Spend time observing a plant. I heard a lot of gardeners in here. So just being able to sit and look, maybe garden, maybe just noticing it. So these are some ideas. Really, with mindfulness, the ideas are endless because it really is about whatever you're doing, being able to be focused and present in that. So it could even be writing a resume or updating your resume, like really being present in every single word that you type out, thinking through what you're looking for, what you're seeking, writing a cover letter that fits the job that you're applying for. Anything that you do in your day could be mindfulness. So these are just some ideas. Let me look at the chat. Will you please share the exercise you do with your children within the email you sent? Yes. So, and I think you're probably referring to the rosebud, rose thorn, rose petal. Yeah, it's just like a little quick thing that we do at night, just as a check-in, but absolutely, I could put that in the emails to send out. So are there any other ideas outside of what's on this bingo board that someone wants to share of what you do or what you plan to do for an everyday mindfulness activity?
Hi, this is Lisa. Sorry, my
Hi,
picture's
Lisa.
not up. My video's not in. I'm going to make a more concerted effort I have a practice that I do. I didn't mention it here. For lack of a better word, it's sort of related to what you're doing, like meditation, but it's even more effective than that. So I plan on doing that more often. Taking some time for that. It's called releasing. And maybe sign up for a class, because they have classes and I kind of put it off and I use excuses, but I know that either by doing the class or actually releasing, taking the time during the day, whatever, I should be doing it all day, but making a more concerted effort to write down my goals, release on them, and watch the magic.
Sounds wonderful. I'll definitely have to look up releasing.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever need any more information, I'm happy to even talk to you about it separately, because there's a bit involved, and it's mostly most people have found out about it through word of mouth. So it's an actual thing, but it's not necessarily everybody's open to it or would be interested. So and
yeah, thank you for sharing, and absolutely I would love.
Yeah, it's really effective. It's
Mm-hmm.
really helped people, and it's something that we do naturally, but when we get all like what you were alluding to about the mind and about not judging, it's going in that direction. And we don't even realize how most of what's stopping us is the mind, because we think it's us. I think I am my thoughts, I am my nervousness, I am my stress, I am that. And that's why half the time that's where our energy goes to. So, we think it's real, we think it's part of us, we think it's natural. And it is so far from being natural, but the mind is something that is really hangs on there. So, it's stopping us from being relaxed and being who we really are. So yeah, I would love to talk to you privately or anybody
Sure.
about releasing. I've been doing it for like 11 years, so
Great.
at least.
Okay. Thank
Anyway,
you, Lisa.
sorry I feel
Yeah,
like a
no, I
long
love
answer.
it. And so one of the things that I did here was, really writing it down, being able to acknowledge it, it sounds like being able to let go. And so one of the other things on here, on like this bingo board is an idea is journaling your thoughts as they come into mind. And what I loved what you said is we often embody our thoughts and think that that's who we are. But like a thought is just a thought. And your thought right now could be different, it will be different than your thought 2 minutes from now. So just understanding the flow of thoughts, that doesn't define us and being able to journal that as they come to mind and seeing how they flow can be a really interesting practice of mindfulness as well. Thank you, Lisa.
Oh,
I did change my name.
Yay.
Someone was asking what the presenter's name is. So my name is Kelly Garvey Sachter. I work at Family Connections, which is an organization in East Orange as well, as Lisa mentioned. And I also am a mindfulness teacher. So I'm definitely open to exploring mindfulness. You could contact me, and believe Lisa will send out my contact information, as well as the PowerPoint and the self-care plan, just to make sure that you have all of that as a working document.
So we're gonna wrap up.
Yeah, so we're gonna wrap up, and so the last,
Said it out loud.
yeah. So the last slide I have on here are have some resources, including that video that I encourage you all to watch. It is just a quick, like 2.5 minute video, but it's great. It just really talks about like what mindfulness is and how it can be a superpower. You're welcome for the program, Susan. Headspace is another app. Calm is a great app. One of the things that they talk about in that little video is like how you're driving and how stressful driving could be, especially in the New York, New Jersey area. Waze actually has a Calm app like speaker for Waze to give you directions, which I love, because you'll be driving, it'll say like, before you make a turn, now's a great time to take a deep breath. And then you take a breath and you're like, oh, right. It reminds you, it brings you back present to like your hands, pay attention to your hands on the steering wheel, pay attention to the journey. It's not about the destination, really, it's about the journey. And so I really do encourage you all to continue on your journey in self-care and emotional resilience and whatever you want to explore to care for yourself. So that way you're able to be present for yourselves as well as the others in your life. So we are going to be wrapping up, and I'm going to have Lisa come back on screen.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you so much to Kelly. Those mindfulness exercises really worked from the beginning when we came into the situation, having some tech difficulties. I'm feeling very, very good right now and centered and focused. I just wanted to thank you again for everything and your resilience and your wonderful presentation. For everyone else, our next one, we're going back to another in a couple weeks. On Thursday, May 30th, our Job Seekers webinar is Ask the Expert, the LinkedIn Guru with Jeff Young. And so it's going to be all about any questions you have about LinkedIn. I'll start sending out the emails on Monday to register. And that is all, folks. For those of you who want to stay on, we're going to stay on for another few minutes for networking. And I'm going to try to stop recording. Where's the button?
And yes, the beginning of the training was just to demonstrate emotional resilience. So thank you all for staying with us through that. Your resilience and being able to stick with it and bounce back is exactly what we want to practice. So it was all experiential.
Yeah, planned. It was all planned.